Yes. And I just accepted. How's everybody doing? What is going on? Yeah, I'm pretty excited about today. Today, we're going to talk about drawing people in with your body language. And not only are we going to be discussing that, and we've brought that up many times. However, in the last week, AJ, you and I have interviewed people who have been researching and doing just as much work in this subject as we have been for the last 15 years. And I love when we talk to people like that, because we then are talking with people who have such an interest in what we have. So those conversations get quite intense. And I couldn't even wait to talk about this when that interview with Abby Morano comes out. I wanted to discuss a little bit of it today just because I was so excited on the topic. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm epic, and it has been a great week of interviews. Super excited to share her specific research on lower body language, something that you probably haven't heard us talk too much about. We often talk about your face and some of the other tips we're going to give you today, but actually your feet and the way you position them have an impact on whether or not people will approach you, find you open, engaging, and charismatic, which I thought was absolutely fascinating research that we're so excited to share with you. Now, if you're joining us for the first time, Johnny and I go live each and every Thursday in this group. We want to welcome our new members. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We got the live chat open. Johnny and I love seeing all the various places around the world that our fans and friends and members of this community are joining us from. And if you love our body language tips, drop body language in the comments, because we have a ton of great actionable insights to share, especially after the last two interviews we had this week, right, Johnny?
Absolutely. I love body language, and I certainly love learning about it. And I want to say hello to a bunch of new folks, but quick, let me just give this a try to see if I could pull up the chat here, and my volume might go on. If it does, I will turn it off. There it is. That's the chat. That's the way I can see everyone. So if you're watching, make sure you throw in where you're watching from, or give us a hi, put it in the chat where we could say hello. Now, let's go ahead and say hello to everyone who's joined in the last week. So Christian and Carrie, Brian, Jesus, Frederick, Jen, Ramsey, Darrell, James, Paul, and Barbara, John, Jason, Trey, Franta, Holton, Eric, Mark, Jen, and Daniel. Welcome, everybody. As AJ mentioned, each week we go live 3:00 Pacific. And what we're going to do, as always, we give you guys simple tricks to make your communication that much more impactful and powerful. We just got hot off an interview today. Well, we were discussing persuasion and influence with Zoe Chance, Yale professor, and she let us in to talk about how popular her class on persuasion and influence has grown. And I got to say, in the last few years, and it's got to have a lot to do with social media, the interest in Robert Cialdini's work has been and we certainly have interviewed multiple people who have been involved in that field over the years. I find it utterly fascinating. And it always, now that we're talking about it in a social media context, that conversation always ends up, at least for a few points, about marketing, because marketing is so pronounced in so much that what we do. But what I like to do is understand the nuance of marketing and use those same concepts in person, because it works the same way. You will see certain things that enhance or boost your emotions. And when you're in that position, in a heightened emotional state, you make radical and quick decisions, actions, and behaviors that you may not even be privy to or conscious of. I find that utterly fascinating.
And this has an impact on whether or not people talk to you. So I was just in Vegas last weekend. We were doing our X Factor Immersion Bootcamp weekend, and what did we find going out in Las Vegas? With the right body language, the right signals, people actually strike up conversations with you. They walk over to you, they open you up in conversation. It is absolutely fascinating to watch this stuff at work, and we do it every single time we get a boot camp together, right, Johnny?
Absolutely. And last week was just fantastic. And I just, you know, I was just telling, I was onboarding one of our new members to the X Factor Accelerator, our online program, and just the understanding of how when you learn these new skills, they open up new opportunities that you previously did not have in front of you. That's why I got into it. That's why you got into it. And that's why our clients get into it. You don't even know what your true potential is until you begin to unlock these skills. And we discuss every week how to unlock your X factor and focusing on 3 specific things: your connection, your charisma, and your confidence. When you max those out, you get your X factor. And what a lot of people don't understand is that you probably have 1 or 2 of those things on lock, or at least you're feeling pretty confident in them. Where the magic is when you have a holistic approach and you have all 3. If you have found in the past that maybe you were a people pleaser, well, then you're missing one of the key ingredients. Right? We have realized that a lot of people fall into 3 different buckets. We have the people pleaser, we have the lone wolf, or Mr. or Miss Needy. And when you have all of those, you lift yourself out of those buckets, and you have now developed your X factor, and you've become well-rounded and whole and unstoppable.
Absolutely. And it's so important to realize that we can build and grow these skills. We can grow our charisma, which was what was so fascinating when we talked with Zoe today about exactly how to do that, the recipe for growing your charisma. You can grow your ability to connect with people. It's not about being the most interesting person. It's not about having all of these crazy stories. It's actually about building the skills of listening and empathy to connect with people on a deeper level. And of course, as you've seen from our coach Michael joining us, you can grow your confidence. And that's what we love about the X Factor, because when all 3 of those components come together, you unlock your unique X Factor, like all the great guests we've had on the show.
Yes. You know, one of the things that I think we find so fascinating, if you're missing one of those, you end up falling into a bucket. For myself, I had to grow my connection skills and rapport building skills to get out of being a lone wolf, to be able to connect with other people. And that was very important to me. In fact, because I didn't have those skills on lock, I doubled down on the things that I was good at, but it allowed me to be happy in some areas because I was developing, but because the connection was ignored, I always found myself going out by myself, being alone, not having a wolf pack.
And as I've talked about on the show, I was a people pleaser. I was very much around getting other people to like me more. And that is a strategy that burns you out. You can get taken advantage of.
Yes. All right. AJ, you ready to get into it?
I am. So let's kick this thing off. We have 5 secrets to become more magnetic and draw people in.
All right. So I wrote a post this week about smiling, and I even gave a bit of an anecdote of when I was younger and why I didn't. And when you smile, and this is what was great. We've been talking and harping on smiling. It's one of the reasons why we do video work. Everyone likes to think they're smiling. This is another instance of people over indexing their own traits. Smiling is one that everyone over indexes on. And And even Abby Morano, we were asking her point blank, what's the one thing that you can do to bring people in? This is one of the top researchers in body language. She was connected to us through our buddy Joe Navarro, Mr. FBI body language guy, and she said, guys, it's all about smiling, and it's about smiling for all the reasons that we've talked about on this show. It is the first thing that other people see that allows them to feel comfortable with you approaching them. It's always about safety first. Your smile is a direct window to how you're feeling inside. And when you have a smile that beams across the room, people see that you're enjoying yourself, that you're comfortable, that you're having fun. Because if you weren't comfortable, you wouldn't have a smile. You're programmed to be in your head and thinking until you realize that you are safe. Once you are safe, you can begin looking at other things that you want to be doing. Enjoying yourself and finding the humor in things and being present is one of those things that you get to do once you're safe. Smiling shows that. It beams it on the whole room. So even if you're not a smiler, and we hear this all the time, people are like, I'm not very smiley. We don't care. You got to figure it out. If it takes doing the doorway drill, where you correct your posture and put on a smile before walking in, and you got to do that for a few weeks, do it. In fact, I was having trouble finding a picture that I could use where I felt comfortable with me smiling, just because even to this day, it's still a little bit weird to me. I do have a few teeth that could have used some braces when I was younger, but at some point you have to get over that. And here's what else I talk about in class all the time. When we're going through Instagram and TikTok, whatever your social media platform is, you're always seeing perfect people with perfect faces and perfect smiles. And so this makes us self-conscious about our own features. But the reality is your brain isn't looking for perfect smiles. Your brain just wants to see smiley, pearly whites. That puts it at ease.
That's all that matters. So whether or not you love your smile, we are wired evolutionarily to respond well to people who are showing their teeth, who are relaxing their face. And we've seen this time and time again inside of the X Factor Immersion Bootcamp, where we film our clients interacting. Internally, everyone feels they have a great smile. They're having a great time, but it doesn't actually show up on video. And that's one of the first signals we look for in all of our video work sections. And once you dial it in, once you get used to smiling more, you draw people in. You actually become magnetic. And that's why we're so big on smiling. Now, you may not love your smile. That's okay. There are a ton of great ways to improve your smile, right, Johnny? I know you saw the dentist getting some Crest white strips. There are great ways to make your smile an even bigger asset when it comes to connecting and meeting new people.
It's incredibly important. If you are self-conscious of it, go to the dentist, let them know. They, at this point in 2022, they have so many different treatments to have you fix up. And I remember, so this tooth right here, that's fake. That is fake because I had busted it out on the pegboard at the gym. AJ was there. We were training for a Tough Mudder. Now I'm climbing up this thing. One of the pegs falls out. I didn't get it all the way in, bashed me straight on my snaggle tooth, the one that sticks out, busted it, right? And then I had to go to the dentist immediately. Now, when I was at that dentist and he was, he's doing all the work that he needs to do to get me looking pretty again, he goes, was your tooth always protruding that much? And I said, yes, doctor, it always has been. In fact, I've been quite self-conscious about it my whole life. He goes, don't worry about it. I'm going to give you a new tooth and I'm going to make it look much better in context with your smile. I couldn't believe it. I've been smiling ever since.
You have been. I can attest to that.
So,
All right, let's
please.
give our second tip.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. All right.
Number 2 is eye contact.
Yes.
Take it away, Johnny.
All right. It is eye contact. People want to know that you're interested. With a smile and eye contact, this allows people to know that you've taken an interest in them. The smile allows them to know that you're warm and that you're inviting. The eye contact says, I see you, you see me, bring it on over. For a lot of people, they get so worked up in approaching people in social events, when the reality is a lot of times you don't even need to. Just being there, enjoying yourself, smiling and making good eye contact with people will allow them to make their way to talk to you. For a lot of people, and I will even propose this, I think a lot of the time that people engage with each other has all been subconscious registered. They see a smile, they see people enjoying themselves, they see somebody with great posture, they will eventually find themselves in their proximity, hoping that the things engage. And then upon that moment is you making your move, taking the chance, saying hello. And I have to also say this, if you are conscious at a level where you recognize that somebody from over there is now over here, well, there's a reason for that. Right? So say hello. What do you got to say on that, AJ?
Well, I have loved working on eye contact. When I started out being an introvert, I shied away from it. I was cautious with my eye contact until I learned very early on. In fact, when we started the podcast, one of our first guests was a master at eye contact, and he tipped me off to this idea that you can literally hold people in just with great eye contact. And this past weekend, I was talking with one of our bootcamp clients, Drew, and he found that exact same thing. He loves country swing dancing, and he's able to lock eyes across the room and find a dance partner. When you have that warm smile and that genuine eye contact, you can actually lead people to you. And that's the power of being magnetic. That's why I love it. So I love making eye contact with people now. Now, of course, we talked about this with Abby Morano. Is there a such thing as too much eye contact? Yes, we want to err on making eye contact and breaking eye contact comfortably. We don't want to stare. We don't want to leer, especially when it comes to the romantic context of trying to get someone's attention. But great eye contact actually engages people and gets them more interested in talking to you, which is why it's such an important nonverbal signal. Now, I'm so excited to share this third point.
Well, I got one more point.
The lower body is not something we talk about.
One more point I want to add to that, AJ. Your eye contact, your eyes are a direct window to your confidence. And when you can look somebody in the eye, you are showing them that you are confident in your communication. This allows them to feel good in approaching you. And we just had a conversation with Zoe Chance about this, who's going to be on the podcast very soon in a few weeks. And she was discussing about when you're on stage and you're able to meet people in the eye, or at least from a stage to perspective of somebody looking up at you, the power that it has when they feel that they've connected with you. It's incredibly important.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. Making eye contact with each individual member of the audience is something that we focus on when we're performing on stage at our immersion program in X Factor. It's something that we've used on large stages as well. It's so impactful. All right, Johnny. Tip 3, the feet don't lie. What do you mean by that?
Well, this is something we had picked up from Abby Morano. One of her specialties is not only just body language, but lower torso body language. In all of her research, she had shown that the feet don't lie. She said the feet are always honest. And will point in the direction that they are taking interest. And this is incredibly important. So now when you're speaking with somebody, to have a quick glance down to the ground to see which way their feet are pointed. Are their feet pointed ready to escape, or are their feet pointed giving you that attention? Regardless of what the upper body is going to do, the feet are the ones that got to move first. If they need to get out of there, the feet start spinning. And that's the way that goes. So the feet do not lie. So also, if you're able to look at somebody else's, and one of the things that we certainly talked to Abby about is, how do you begin to start seeing these signals? Well, you have to be conscious of them in your own body. So you can communicate with your feet about what interest and where the interest is that you are putting it, where your attention is.
Absolutely. And the thing is, with not only the feet not lying, the thing is, many of us aren't even paying attention to what's going on with our lower body. So many of us are thinking about our hands, we're thinking about our eye contact, our shoulders, how we're standing, but we're not often thinking about our feet, which is why they don't lie. Subconsciously, your feet are actively pointing in the direction of your interest. So if you think about it, having open stance where your feet are actually wide apart and open and facing the person, you're actually inviting them into a conversation, versus crossing your legs, crossing your feet, pointing them away from someone, actually is showcasing disinterest, is a powerful subconscious signal, as Abby pointed out in her research, that pushes people away, that repels them instead of drawing them in.
AJ, we know one of the most interesting parts of that interview, and I'm so excited for everyone to hear it. She mentioned that the legs of somebody will close up when they get uncomfortable. So if they're in an interview or in a conversation, the feet will start moving underneath the chair. The knees will touch, and I just found it utterly fascinating. And you always hear these things about, and in fact, when it comes to myths, for me, it was always about the upper body language, and the lower body language didn't really mean much. Well, Abby's research had totally shattered that myth.
Absolutely. And I love when we actually pull in research. We have a lot of anecdotal evidence, but it's always fun to dig into the science with our guests. All right. This concept number 4 here, shine on the other person, Johnny. What do we mean by that?
Well, this goes back to the performer aspect that I was discussing. And there's multiple different ways about doing this. And Zoe had a really nice story in her book about seeing Prince for the first time, and how she felt that he was looking at her, that he shined right at her. And granted, if you can imagine, if Prince is performing, it's going to be in a stadium, and the people in that crowd are going to just be a blob to him, with all the faces sort of blurring together. But she felt the look, and she, even to this day, she goes, she even laughed at him. She goes, I know he probably didn't see me, but I felt as if he was looking right at me. So our point in this is that you put your attention towards other people. When you take interest in them, they get to shine. You're shining on them. These people get excited. They feel good. And we've been discussing, and I can't wait, AJ, we're going to do an episode of value on high value behaviors and actions and mindsets. This is going to be a part 2 of our value podcast. And it's all about making those around you feel great about themselves. And that's what we mean by shining on them. And there's many different ways about going about this. And if you're interested in that, I believe we have a training in this group that we can get you. So just put high value behavior in the comments, and we'll make sure that you get that.
And when it comes to shining, when we radiate energy outward, we're actually not focused on what we're saying, what we're doing, being the most interesting, but instead we're putting all of our interest in the other person. it draws them in. We are interested in those who are interested in us. And it's so funny because Dale Carnegie wrote about this over 100 years ago, and the science has caught up to all of those great lessons in his book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. When we focus inward, when we think inward, when we're concerned about what's going on with what we're doing and saying, we actually remove our charisma from that interaction. We turn it down. So when we're shining outward, standing up tall, projecting all of our energy onto the other person, we draw them in. Now, this one is a little counterintuitive, Johnny. I want you to break this one down for our audience.
Looking for signs of trust. You know, this was really interesting to me. And over the years, we have noticed that a lot of people, when they're meeting new people or doing something new for the first time, they have a tendency to fixate on signs that things are not going well. And I will tell you, if you are looking for signs of negativity or things are not going well, you're going to see them. But what's more interesting is you're not really seeing them. You're seeing them where they're not seeing them, because you as a human being are not programmed to see signs of disinterest. You are programmed to see signs of trust so that you can connect, so that you're able to build rapport, because human beings are herd animals. And the safer for us to feel incredibly safe, we need the attention, approval, and acceptance of the other animals in the herd. So we're focused and programmed on being able to see those signals. So I would suggest, rather than looking for signals of disinterest, that you focus on looking for signals of trust, of interest. You're better off in seeing those signals. And even in the interview that we did today, that will be out in a few weeks with Zoe Chance, all of those signals, if you, because people want to be cooperative, they want to be helpful, they're going to say yes. You're going to see more of those signs. We tend to err on the side of benefit of doubt rather than the other side. And if you look at just the stats in general, human beings are overwhelmingly good people. Everyone's trying to make the right decisions, do the right thing. The cooperative person always ends up getting ahead, unless you are agreeable to a fault where you put others ahead of you. This was something that was brought up today. It was in Adam Grant's book, Give and Take. There's givers, takers, and matchers. And the givers are on top of the totem pole, but also on the bottom of the totem pole as well. And how do you escape that? Making sure that you have good boundaries put together. But because most people want to do the right thing, look for those signs of trust. Look for signs of interest.
We are wired to cooperate. As humans, that is what separates us from most of the animal kingdom. Evolutionarily speaking, it's allowed us to survive and thrive on this planet. Now, what that means is that because we seek trust, because we seek cooperation, your brain is wired to recognize those patterns for trust. And there's a concept in psychology called inattentional blindness. When we focus on one thing with our reticular activating system, your brain is processing a ton of patterns. There's a ton of information hitting your brain at any given time. Your reticular activating system hones your focus in on specific things. And what happens is, if you look for something, you find it, and then you miss everything else. So you're much better off looking for signs of trust in others, looking for signals that they're interested in you, looking for signals that they're attracted to you, than you are looking for signals that they're not interested, attracted, or drawn to you. So in recap, when we smile, we make great eye contact, we open our feet and our lower body to the world instead of crossing them, we shine with our energy and our enthusiasm and our focus towards the people we're interested in, and we look for those signs of trust, we draw people into us. We build trust, we get them more interested and excited to deal with us. Now, here's the thing. This stuff takes practice. I know Johnny and I go live each and every week here, and we're sharing with you all these great tips and tricks, but it can be hard to apply them when you're out and about, when you're in a high stress situation, when you're on that first date, when you're at that job interview, when you're going to that event and you want to meet amazing people, your first meetup, etc. So what we've done inside the X Factor Accelerator is we've created a social skills dojo, opportunities each and every week to practice these skills with other like-minded show fans and clients of ours who are looking to grow their charisma, to build deeper connections, and skyrocket their confidence. And when you focus on those three areas together in a group environment with great feedback and opportunity to learn and see for yourself with video work with Johnny, myself, and Michael, well, you unlock that X factor and the world is drawn to you, right, Johnny?
Absolutely. So if that is something that you are interested in, you want to get more information, put X Factor in the chat below, and we will make sure that we get that information to you. AJ, I got another call that I got to get to. So we are going to head out. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. And again, if you're looking for that other training on high value, put high value in the chat and we'll get that.
And we want to know how these tips and tricks have helped you this weekend. Go out and apply them. And if you use them, let us know in the comments. Have a great rest of your week, everybody.
See you guys.